How does it feel to be a split second away from certain death? To stare down the barrel of a loaded gun on the most dangerous day of your life? Tonight, a cop's car chase with an armed felon.
Let me see your hand!
Turns into a deadly head-on attack.
He's focused in on me, and this is no longer an escape.
Then, Deputy Billy Boney's traffic stop
129 right away.
turns into a beatdown by a madman.
I was fighting for my life out there.
Later, Sergeant Eric Jesse comes face to face with a desperate gunman.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
Law enforcement officer needs to ask themselves, can I kill somebody? And once you've answered that, you're good.
Real people. In their own words.
It was, just get the gun, and you might get out of here alive.
Give me the money!
Revealed their most frightening moment. The day they faced their crisis point.
Suspect down, need rescue!
Christopher Nelson has been a state trooper with the Idaho State Police for 8 years.
Watch out, watch out!
The events of April 23rd changed his life forever.
Watch out, he's gonna rain, he's gonna rain!
I'd been in training all day, and I was about 2 miles away from my house when I heard that Bonneville County was involved in the pursuit of a highly intoxicated individual who was wanted for a domestic battery.
Physical domestic in progress.
2 county deputies are already in pursuit of the drunk driver.
Bonneville 335, be advised, I'm in pursuit of that vehicle.
10-4.
Moments earlier, Deputy Barrett Hillier radioed Sergeant Kelly Carter a description of the suspect and his pickup truck.
Suspect is possibly left in a street air truck. It'll be a blue Ford pickup with a white dump bed.
I see the vehicle coming towards me. It was obvious he wasn't going to stop for me. I turned on my siren.
And he advised that he was in pursuit of that suspect vehicle.
Bonneville 335, be advised, I'm in pursuit of that vehicle, westbound.
The pursuit was coming right at me. The suspect wasn't dropping speed at all. He was coming straight at me. And so I kind of at the last second swerved over to the right to get out of his way.
It's apparent he don't care if somebody gets hurt because he's not making any effort to try to stop.
The chase barrels out of town and heads toward a nearby lake.
Once he blew through the stop sign, there was nowhere left for him to go. I just got a very bad feeling that this one was not going to end good.
We're in the S-curve, headed towards the gate, the top of the campground. We get down in there, we're going to lose radio contact with you.
The road dead ends at the lake. The officers are now out of radio range, alone, and with a madman.
He pulled right up to the guardrail. My thought was, I can't believe he's going to make it this easy for us. We've got him boxed in.
Let me see your hands! Show me your hands now!
He was ignoring all of our verbal commands.
Let me see your hands!
Thoughts always in the back of your mind that they could be going for a weapon. We just wanted to see his hands, because the hands can kill you. When the engine revved and the reverse lights came on, I yelled at Sergeant Carter and Deputy Level.
Watch out, he's gonna ram, he's gonna ram me! Watch out, watch out!
I was shocked and dumbfounded. The bad guy wasn't doing what bad guys do. He wasn't giving up.
I knew things were gonna be bad again.
Trooper Nelson doesn't have time to turn around. He slams it into reverse and hits the gas.
I just wanted to beat him to where he was going, So I jumped in the car, threw it in reverse, and I just floored it. Most people run from the police, not at him. He's focused in on me, and this is no longer an escape. He rammed me head on. Doors buckle shut, and he's just escalated it to deadly force. Car filled with smoke, and there was disorientation, the disbelief that he had actually done that.
Nelson's trapped inside by his airbag and a jammed door.
I felt like I was a sitting duck. Being trapped in my car, there's nowhere to go.
All of a sudden, I'm seeing him getting rammed head on, trapped in his vehicle. So I've got to help him.
I need to get out. And I began banging on my door until I got it pried open.
As Sergeant Carter approaches the truck, he sees the driver grab a knife.
Then I see this guy slice his own throat. This guy's not in his right mind. As the suspect got out of the vehicle, he's locked in on Trooper Nelson. He starts saying, "Shoot me, pig. Shoot me, pig."
Shoot me, pig!
He was within 10 feet of me. Someone can close in on you with a knife within the matter of 1 second.
Can't let him get any closer.
He was focused in on me, eye to eye, coming straight at me. And I made a decision a long time ago, if it ever came down to me or someone else, it's gonna be someone else. It was reactionary, but almost like my brain telling my finger, now, start pulling the trigger now. Never before had I ever been forced to pull the trigger.
I've never had to use my weapon in the line of duty before. I've been close multiple times, but it seemed like there was always another way, another option. I could see no other option.
Man down, shots fired, we need an ambulance.
We began first aid. And I remember looking at his face and just thinking, this guy just tried to kill me. And he just forced me to shoot him, and now I'm trying to save his life. And it took everything in me not to break down.
Air Idaho in the air, please.
10-4.
Nelson's own injuries are far worse than he first realizes.
I didn't realize how bad my back was. The impact itself fractured 3 vertebrae in my back. My little girl was 2.5 years old at the time, and as soon as I'd pick her up, I'd have to put her right back down.
The suspect survives and is charged with domestic battery and battery upon a police officer, both felonies. He receives 15 years in the state penitentiary.
Bonneville 335, be advised, I'm in pursuit of that vehicle.
Sergeant Carter and Deputy Hilliard, they'll always have a special place in my heart.
Watch out, he's gonna ram me, watch out, watch out!
That day, my life, my family's life changed forever. A man tried to kill me. There's no points for second place. You lose, you die. So you can't lose.
Man down, shots fired, we need an ambulance.
Coming up, 2 cops corner a desperate kidnapper, then take him down in a parking lot shootout.
I decided at that time to take a headshot.
Later, Deputy Bill Boney stops a drunk driver and is thrown into the fight of his life.
Went over the guardrail, landed on my head. I knew I wasn't going to die on the side of that road that night.
Stop!
Then, Officer Glenn Polton helps a stranded motorist, but the simple stop turns deadly.
I was afraid of what injuries that I had and was I going to be paralyzed.
That's on Crisis Point.
Highway patrols right behind him.
Continuing eastbound on Lodi, we call him pursuit.
Scott Bratton is a rookie with the Lodi, California Police Department.
Let them know I'm en route.
On February 11th, Scott met his new partner, Brian Freeman. On February 12th, they're thrown into a gunfight that threatens their lives.
He's gonna come out of the car, and it looks like he's gonna try and make a run for it. Go, go, go!
My grandfather was a police officer. He was actually a captain in the Lodi Police Department. My lifelong dream was to be a Lodi police officer.
Today, Scott's dream becomes a nightmare when he's called to assist in a dangerous high-speed chase. The felon he pursues is holding a hostage at gunpoint and has no regard for human life.
The suspect has the gun hanging out the window and is pointing it back at my patrol vehicle. The driver would wave his hands like, come on, almost taunting us. He'd already shot a police officer, pointed a gun at us throughout the pursuit. So I'm starting to realize this probably isn't going to end well.
The driver eventually makes a wrong turn onto a dead-end street. That won't stop him. He crashes through a fence and onto a muddy field.
At that time, it had been raining for a few days. He tried to make it through the field and became stuck.
This will be interesting to see what happens here.
I exited my patrol car, and I took a position behind the motor block of my patrol unit.
Charlie, come.
Scott's new partner, Brian Freeman, races up beside him.
I had never been involved in a situation like this prior.
Brian looks at me and he goes, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Absolutely." "Are you ready?" And he goes, "Absolutely."
The gunman and his female hostage exit the van.
He's gonna come out of the car, and it looks like he's gonna try and make a run for it.
Armed with a shotgun and a loaded .44. He pins her against his chest in a desperate attempt to escape. Brian tracks the kidnapper in the sights of his rifle.
I'm watching them as they go through the field, and I know that, I can't let them get away, but I don't want to hit her.
Each step takes them further away from a safe ending. Time is running out for Brian to shoot.
They made it up to the parking lot. She moved her back, and there was about a 3 to 4 inch gap between her back and his chest. I had done a lot of praying, and I just felt confident. I mean, had I not felt confident, I wouldn't have pulled the trigger. And at that point, I fired one round.
The assailant and his hostage collapse to the pavement.
At that point, I was thinking to myself, we win. The good guys win, the bad guys lose.
But this bad guy won't give up.
I just shot this guy with a rifle, but he sat up and started shooting at us. Our thoughts are, she's gonna be the closest target. She's the victim, she's right there, he's gonna shoot her.
Brian asked me if I was ready. I told him yes, and we both said, let's move.
To save the hostage, Scott and Brian risk total exposure as they charge. The only cover is the van, over 50 yards away.
Most people would think that if there is a gunfight, that you would be crazy to run into the face of it. On the other hand, Brian and I knew that we had to make it to the back of that van, and I knew that our lives depended on it.
As we make it partway out into the field, the victim gets up and takes off running.
The partners get lucky when the shooter's shotgun jams.
So he transitioned to the handgun and started firing rounds at both of us. Scott's yelling to get down.
I know it doesn't seem humanly possible to see bullets coming out of a gun at you, but I could see them and I could feel them. And I would say that absolutely we had a heightened sense of awareness. I can remember going across that field thinking for a split second, I have 3 daughters and a son. No way is this guy gonna win. There's no way I'm gonna let this guy take me away from my family and my children.
I remember just thinking, why won't he die? Why is he shooting at me? He's been shot, and he's continuing to shoot at us.
I wasn't aware if he had body armor under his clothes or if he was on drugs.
Scott has a split second to make a crucial decision.
I decided at that time to take a headshot.
Step up, step up. Do not move. If you move, you'll be shot.
He's still a threat. At any point, he could pull out a gun and shoot us, so I'm focused on him.
The partners move in over the final stretch of open ground.
You got him, Brian?
I covered the suspect while Scott handcuffed him.
And when we were done, Brian and I looked at each other, and it was more of a look like, you know what? Job well done.
The suspect survives 11 gunshot wounds and will serve 50 years in a state prison. The hostage turned out to be his girlfriend.
Brian and I, throughout that situation, worked as a team. We worked as one.
I could have very easily been killed, or Scott could have been killed. He saved my life, I saved his life, the way I look at it. We were there for each other, we were a team.
That February 12th was a day that really solidified the reason in my mind of why I became a police officer.
Go, go, go!
Coming up, an officer's routine pullover becomes a brawl with a madman.
Stop, stop.
This was something that could get out of hand, and it did real quickly.
Give me the money.
Then, Mini-Mart clerk David Patel fights for his life at point-blank range.
I would rather fight and die than just die.
On Crisis Point.
Bill Boney is the chief deputy for the Twiggs County Sheriff's Office in Jeffersonville, Georgia.
I love being a police officer. I don't think I'd ever do anything else.
Step back here, please.
But on April 22nd, he almost lost his life in a vicious roadside attack.
Stop. Attack.
It was a calm, pretty night. Moon was out. Everything was beautiful. I was doing routine patrol. I was on I-75 southbound. I saw the suspect's vehicle, what I believed was a high rate of speed. 1001.
But Deputy Boney knows there's no such thing as a routine stop.
When the suspect exited his vehicle,
Step back here, please.
I noticed he was very unsteady on his feet.
How much you had to drink tonight?
Boney immediately smells alcohol on the man's breath.
The driver's license, please, sir.
When I asked the suspect for his driver's license, he got a confused look on his face, walked back to his car, and leaned down into the car.
When Deputy Boney loses sight of the driver's hands, his training kicks in.
At that point, I backed around to the passenger side of my car and sought cover because I didn't know what he might have in his car.
Got the guy covered from where I'm at.
So I could be prepared for any problem that he might bring me. He fumbled around in the car and then left the door open.
Shut your door.
That was an indicator that he wasn't thinking right. He was weaving when he walked. He didn't understand what I was saying to him when I told him to stand in front of the car.
Stand right around here for me, please. You ain't got to do all that. Just don't put your hand in your pocket, please.
The drunk driver refuses to follow Boney's orders to keep his hands out of his pockets. The officer fears he might be concealing a gun.
Put your hand back in your pocket.
At that point, I felt there was something up. So he started walking toward me. He was looking through me like I wasn't even standing there.
Stand around that way.
Alone on a dark highway, Boney knows he must get the situation under control.
Stop.
As he started walking toward me, I pulled my weapon on him and got him back around in front of the car.
Put your hands on the hood. You better cool it.
But then, things take an ominous turn.
ND 129 right away. Stop. 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 Hey!
The suspect came off the vehicle
Stop. Stop.
and started toward me. This was something that could get out of hand,
Stop.
and it did real quickly.
Deputy Boney's forced to take it to the next level. He hits the suspect with a blast of pepper spray.
Get on the ground.
I thought it was going to cease the confrontation, but it just escalated from there. When you got somebody that's a lot stronger than you and somebody that's coming no matter what you're doing to him, you start thinking about, am I going to survive this?
Stop.
And as we progressed, time just started slowing down and going like one frame at a time.
Boney is backed up against a guardrail.
I didn't realize that I was as close to the guardrail as I was. Then he threw his body into me and over the guardrail I went. Went over the guardrail, landed on my head. I fell down onto my stomach. It knocked the breath out of me. I knew it was on. I made up my mind I wasn't going to die on the side of that road that night. I finally got on top of him. Then he started reaching for my gun. I was fighting for my life out there. I got up on top of him and pushed his body down into the ground and ran away from him.
Boney draws his weapon, just as the man jumps the guardrail for a quick escape.
He ran and jumped into his car and drove away from the scene. I knew this guy was a menace.
Control, that car just drove away.
But I had plenty of backup.
Other officers catch the attacker just down the road.
Your vehicle and throw your keys out.
He later pleads guilty to charges of DUI and aggravated assault.
Absolutely nothing that you do in this line of work should be considered routine.
Stop!
I didn't have time to scream. The fear didn't come until afterwards. At that particular time, all I was thinking about was survival.
Hey!
Coming up, an armed and dangerous man.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
In a desperate shootout with cops.
I just felt this is bad.
Drop the gun!
Then, an officer gets smashed by 2 tons of runaway truck.
I was literally taken off my feet, and I felt myself being propelled into the air.
On crisis point.
Hey, 353, 338. I'm in the area now. Got visual.
My name is Detective Sergeant Eric Jesse with the Stafford County Sheriff's Office in Stafford County, Virginia.
Sergeant Jesse knows there's one question all law enforcement officers need to ask themselves.
Can I kill somebody? And once you've answered that, you're good.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
On July 11th, every bit of his skills and training are put to the test.
All units be on the lookout for a red Volkswagen Scirocco. Subject was last seen leaving Spotsylvania Mall. Is considered armed and dangerous.
It was a Saturday, typical weekend, bouncing from call to call. I was on the lookout for a reddish Scirocco with Virginia plates.
Jesse's now joining the search for a convicted felon, wanted for armed robbery.
They gave a list of his warrants, but they also said felon in possession of a firearm, so that dude's got a gun.
353 to 338.
Unit 353, go ahead.
I've got eyes on the felon's car from this morning over here at the housing project.
353, 1012, I'm 1076 your location.
Officer Roy Scott, Jesse's partner, radios him when he spots the fugitive.
Scott says, I got the car over here. I see it. By the time I make it around to where Scott is, Scott now has his blue lights on, and there's that little red Scirocco taking off across the field. You never know what a pursuit's going to do when it first starts. Is the guy really trying to get away from you? Is he just looking for a place to ditch the car and run? Can the guy even outdrive you? Under a minute, we are at speeds of 80.
Scott is new to the force and has never been in a pursuit.
Scott says, hey, if we're ever in a pursuit, the second you can take the lead, and I'll fall back and take a radio car. I was fine with that.
But the chase takes a bizarre turn when the runaway vehicle starts to slow down.
He's not trying to run away from me now. I just felt this is bad. He turns the signal on. I felt the hairs come up on the back of my neck, and I felt sick to my stomach.
Jesse's experience tells him he's headed toward trouble when the car goes off the main road.
About the time I go to make my turn into the driveway, I took my weapon out of the holster. And so I was driving my last few feet with my weapon in my hand.
The driver pulls to an abrupt stop and then brandishes a gun.
As you're seeing the gun and the car doors coming open, that was the worst moments. Where it's like, oh my God, this is happening. And I bounced out of my car, he come out with the handgun, and I'd screamed a couple times.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
It was just like time had slowed down and stopped.
Sergeant Jesse has to make a split-second decision: shoot or be shot.
I'm looking at this guy's arm and it's flexing. I can see those muscles ripple. And I quickly get off 2 rounds. And I'm watching as I'm shooting, his shirt is going foop, 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 foop. No, it's not going down. This is, yeah. About this point, I come up, fire off 2 more. And that ends it, he goes down. You have those brief seconds, nanoseconds of this vivid fear. There can be no courage without fear.
Jesse fires. The ordeal is over in seconds.
I got up there, and you see me kicking at an object, but it was the handgun.
Sergeant Jesse's joined by Scott and another officer, and struggles to understand why the gunman just tried to kill him.
Why did you point the gun at me, man?
He answers, I wanted to die, man. After that, he didn't speak anymore to us. Every now and then I wonder, why did you do that? Life is so precious, and once it's gone, you ain't ever getting it back. I didn't understand it. It's commonly known in law enforcement circles as those sorts of things, suicide by cop, you know. They want to end things, but they don't have the courage to do it themselves, so they pull law enforcement into it. It's a very crucial day in my existence. And to think about how much I've grown as a person or as a father or as a cop, that I wouldn't have got to done if it had ended differently.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
Up next, bullets fly only inches from a mini-mart clerk who won't go without a fight.
I was pointing at him, but it won't go off because I didn't know how to shoot the gun.
Then, a good Samaritan cop ends up in a desperate struggle to survive.
I was literally taken off my feet and was looking up at the morning sky.
On Crisis Point.
David Patel has worked at a gas station in Van Nuys, California for more than 5 years. But one night especially stands out.
October 23rd, 2005 was the night that I made the stupidest mistake and turned out to be the worst night of my life.
Give me the money!
I was a cashier there at the gas station, and I always worked night shifts out there, and I never worried about it.
But the night shift's been hit by bandits before. The store's policy is to lock the door after dark. David's about to break that rule with terrifying consequences.
It was about 1:30 in the morning. When I looked to the door, I saw a guy. He looked really drunk, and he was really tall and looked like a nice guy, and nobody you could think who would harm you.
David tries talking some sense into the drunk man.
You shouldn't be driving. So I actually opened the door and let him in.
But what David doesn't know is that he has just unlocked the door to a nightmare.
So I closed the gas station, I went to the phone, I called 911, and they picked up. I was telling them there's a guy here who is drunk and needs help.
As David calls 911 to report his drunken customer, the man emerges from the back of the store with a chilling surprise.
Who are you calling? You're still calling? Hang up that phone!
And when I was telling them this, he actually came in, and he had a gun in his hand, and he pointed at me and said, "No phone."
Hang up that phone!
The madman rips the phone from the wall.
He said it's a robbery, and he started taking the money from the register. I would rather fight and die than just die. That's the only reason I went for the gun.
Fearing for his life, David makes a fateful decision.
So I was waiting for the gun to face away from me, and the first chance I could get when the gun faced away from me, I actually grabbed it. And at that time, he pressed the trigger.
In the struggle, the gunman squeezes off a round, shattering a window.
I was afraid and scared that he might shoot me. And he shot. And the bullet actually went to the window right next to us. And that was kind of very shocking. Once I started fighting, I didn't think anything, because basically it was, just get the gun and you might get out of here alive.
But David's outmatched by the drunken lunatic.
I wasn't able to push him down. I was getting on top of him when I was trying to get the gun. I was just telling him, just give me the gun, He said, let me go, let me go. I said, just give me the gun, I'll let you go.
Against all odds, David manages to wrestle the gun from the shooter.
And that's when I got the gun from him. When I got the gun from him, I was trying to just say, just back off, I'll shoot you. I was trying to just keep him away from me, but I think he knew that I couldn't shoot it. I was pointing at him, but it won't go off because I didn't know how to, shoot the gun.
When David doesn't pull the trigger, the bandit makes a leap for the gun. But David quickly gets the upper hand. But he's not letting this creep just walk out the front door.
He went into the back of the gas station trying to get out.
Now it's payback time. David locks the front door, trapping the robber inside.
And when I got out, I was still shaking. I was trying to call 911.
Desperate for escape, the trapped suspect resorts to trying his own keys in the front door. He quickly gives up and continues his search for another escape. The robber manages to break through a rear door and circle back around to his car. Still on the phone with 911, David is surprised when he sees his drunken prisoner now suddenly free.
I was kind of shocked to see him outside because I locked him in and I didn't think he could get out. But somehow he found a way to get out and he was outside. I wasn't scared at that time because I had the gun. He just wanted to get away. He just wanted to run. I mean, I'll tell anybody else, don't open the door.
David's grateful to survive his night of hell.
I was thanking God for, even though I made a stupid mistake, that, you know, he protected me through it.
Police later apprehend the robber based on David's description.
I don't have any hatred against him. I heard that, you know, he's in jail. I feel bad for him because he was really young and, you know, that he had a future. It's just hate for somebody to just ruin their future on just for a few dollars.
Coming up, a cop helps a stranded motorist and from out of nowhere gets slammed.
I could hear the female driver that we stopped to help screaming hysterically.
On Crisis Point.
Glenn Pothen is a deputy with the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department in Minnesota.
Unit 2435. 2435, go ahead. One of the things that I pride myself on is helping other officers. I'm closer than Unit 2461 because I know if I need help that they're going to be coming to help me out.
On May 19th, Pothen will discover he'll need more than just the help of a fellow officer to save his life. It's an ordinary day on the job for Officer Pothen when he receives a call to help at a nearby injury accident.
2435, go ahead. Can you put me on the state patrol on a possible accident with injuries? 2435.
As I was coming up on the scene, I recognized Trooper Kelly Collins. I've known Trooper Collins for about 7 years.
We got a motorist ran off the road into a ditch.
While Trooper Collins radios for a tow truck, Pothen steps outside to inspect the wrecked vehicle.
The driver told me that she thought she heard air leaking out of one of her tires. I stepped around to see if I could see anything wedged underneath her car into the tire. I had no idea that something was about ready to happen that was going to change my life forever. I heard some tires sliding on pavement. As I started to turn around to see what the skidding noise was, I see a pickup truck come flying out of nowhere. I felt myself being propelled into the air.
Deputy Pothen is pummeled by 1.5 tons of steel. He's hurled into the air at 50 miles an hour.
I was literally taken off my feet and was looking up at the morning sky. I almost felt like a quarterback who's been blindsided by a linebacker. I then felt myself crashing to the ground and felt myself sliding through the brush that was there. I was thinking, what's going to hit me or what am I going to hit? And am I going to be seriously injured or killed?
Pothen is totally disoriented and in agonizing pain. But somehow, he maintains consciousness.
I didn't know what direction I had been thrown. I was afraid to open my eyes. I could hear the female driver that we stopped to help screaming hysterically. I was afraid of what injuries that I had and was I going to be paralyzed. Then I began hearing Trooper Collins yelling on her radio. When I first saw her, she looked like a ghost. She looked extremely frightened and terrified.
From the look on her face, Pothen fears the worst about his condition.
I'm worried about if I have a spinal cord injury.
Deputy Pothen is afraid to move, but even more terrified not to try.
I tried wiggling my fingers and got down to my legs and moved those each a little bit. I have no idea how long it took the paramedics to get there. Time kind of stood still.
Paramedics strap Pothen to a backboard and then give him some good news.
The paramedics said everything on the outside looks great. Obviously, we don't know if you have any internal bleeding or not. They're not seeing anything, but just because I don't have any open cuts or any open scrapes or any broken legs doesn't mean that I am not injured at all.
Incredibly, doctors confirm that Deputy Pothen has sustained no severe injuries. But the nightmare is one he'll never forget.
I should be in a body bag. It's a miracle that I'm alive. There's no legitimate reason that anybody can think of on why I'm still alive today.
These are the true life stories of people who survived their most terrifying.
Watch out, he's gonna ram, he's gonna ram!
He was focused in on me, eye to eye, coming straight at me.
Most dangerous.
At that particular time, all I was thinking about was survival.
Most desperate moment.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
You've just witnessed Crisis Point.